Hi everyone, it's Tuong, your host of Ranked Top 5 List of Stuff That Don't Matter. Before you listen to today's deliciously foodie episode, it didn't feel right to get right into it without addressing a bigger elephant in the room. Today's episode is meant to be part of our somewhat annual Canada Day line of episodes where we create a topic to celebrate Canada, which as the years go on, I realize gets more and more complicated the older I get and the more I learn about our country's history. Sometime after this episode was recorded, there was some absolutely heartbreaking and depressing news that 751 unmarked graves were found near the former Marieville Indian Residential School. Now, as much as we try to always avoid any overly sensitive topics or political topics on this show, because this is supposed to be a fun little dumb show, it's honestly really hard to feel very patriotic for a country that was founded on some pretty deep racism and mistreatment of Indigenous people that is still very present today. So I am including in this week's show notes some resources to help educate you all, because let's face it, we can all use some more learning. And I'm going to include some donations and links to charities to support Indigenous communities. All that said, this episode is still very fun, has a great group of guests, and honestly, it's kind of more food related than Canadian related, so I hope you still enjoy. And if we somehow offend or come off as insensitive during this episode, just know that it's never our intention on this show to hurt anyone's feelings, unless you're on this episode and you're hurting the feelings of other guests to get your nomination higher on a top 5 list. Anyways, enjoy today's brand new foodie episode of Ranked.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
Yeah, girl, you ready to do this? You ready to count this thing down? We're doing the top 5, her. Yeah, set it off with 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Ranked Top 5 List of Stuff That Don't Matter. I'm the most Canadian host imaginable with the name Tuong Law. You know, it's a new age in Canada. What is your typical Canadian name? It doesn't matter. Throw that out the window. Tuong Law is the new Bob, the new Zach, the new whatever white guy name you got imaginable. Doesn't matter. I am here and I'm here to talk about and celebrate Canada. We haven't done an episode like this in a while. Last year we skipped it because we're like, what's there to celebrate? The pandemic? I don't want to do that. So instead, we're taking it back. We are back here today with a brand new crew, except for one person. This one person has somehow infiltrated, and I'm using the word infiltrated, the podcast multiple times. They are relentless. They are like, Tuong, if you don't put me on your show, my podcast network is going to take over. This person also turns out to be probably the best Yu-Gi-Oh player that I've known in the last couple years. I'm talking about Tom Zalatnai, everyone.
Hey, you know, the thing about Canada and the thing about Canadian guests is that what's more Canadian than forcing your way into a space and claiming it as your own? So I'm Tom Zalatnai, the new host of...
Oh man, that's too real. That's too real, but accurate.
I'm a firm believer in not celebrating Canada Day, but I am also a firm believer in celebrating, you know, the thing that we are talking about today as our topic.
Sure,
but I'm not going to spoil
sure.
Yet, so,
you know,
happy to
Canada
be here.
Day. You know, I'll say right now, Tom, Canada Day was my favorite day of the year, not because of what it represents, but the party. The party
Sure.
was so good on Canada Day. I remember like the fireworks, people dressed in red and white, and it's summertime, and you got, you know, when you're younger, it's a little bit more exciting because, you know, your high school days, your early university days, and you're on the prowl, if you will. That sounds disgusting too. But you're looking for a good time. Not that I ever got one on Canada Day, but my imagination went wild, and I was just like, you know what? It's just good vibes, attractive people roaming the streets, families, fireworks, beers, what have you.
Yeah. Let's get horny. It's Canada Day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. And what do you have to say about your Yu-Gi-Oh career?
Well, admittedly, my Yu-Gi-Oh career ended in 2006. 7, but I was pretty good at it at the time. And
but you went out on top, is what you're saying.
That's it. Before they started introducing new versions of the game, I was a pro. Speaking of people who are pros who get real horny on Canada Day, this next person, sorry for the long pause there. I had a brain fart. It's been a long day. Speaking of people who just can't help but be on the prowl for something delicious every 1st of July, our next player in this week's Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship episode of Ranked is one of my fabulous co-hosts, my co-DM, in fact, over on Natural Toonie, our Dungeons & Dragons podcast. This person has the best hair on the call, and I'm jealous because I just dyed my hair the other day and got a haircut, and I'm still in second place. It's Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, and welcome to Ranked.
Thank you for having me, everyone. This is lovely.
You know what? We've had, let's just say thousands of guests, even though that's completely wrong. Let's just say thousands of guests and millions of subscribers. Millions. Mm-hmm. And I've seen all of their hair. Alex, yours is top 5.
Top 5. Goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is what I get for being too lazy to go to an actual hairdresser for 2 years. Because there's
really?
A pandemic.
So naturally, your hair just swoops down to the right. I guess it's.
Well, I've been shaving everywhere else and just leaving this nonsense.
Alex, I am so happy you are here, but of course we can't get started without you introducing the last guest.
Yes, that is the thing I have to do for the show to happen. He's one of my best friends. I've known him forever. He's curmudgeonly and has tastes and opinions. It's David Hull, who's also on Natural Toonie. That's an intro. Just go with it.
Yes, it's
Hello,
me.
David.
It's me, David, the curmudgeonly old man.
Oh wow! You know what? All of us are on this Zoom call right now, and I can't see David, so I think he's been taken over by what seems to be a goblin creature of some sort.
Oh no, that's just David's real face.
Oh, okay.
I think I was intimidated because there was so much energy in this podcast already, and Tom, I'm not used to this. So much energy. What do I do?
Okay. Hi,
I'm David.
That's what we're all about. All energy, no substance on this podcast. No. You are all here for a reason. We Avengers Assemble. We gathered the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Splinter has called in the TMNT. What other references do I have?
Exodia. Do Exodia.
Exodia. The 5 pieces of Exodia, even though there's 4 of us.
This podcast has no pathetic guests.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is we've gathered quite a crew here today, some old, some new, but ranking something Canadian, something that, whatever you feel about Canada Day, it's a good excuse to talk about Canadian foods, everyone. That's the topic of today. Tom loves talking about food, so they were the first person that I'm like, wait, we have to get Tom on this. They might kill me if they're not on this.
You're not wrong.
It's true. It's just it would make too much sense. It's an easy lob. Tom has opinions about food. They're going to school for food something, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. But hey, look, before we start ranking Canadian foods, let's come up with some ground rules for today. So what do y'all think about Canadian food?
I think anything that look, obviously Canada is a country that has no right to exist, and Canadian food culture is very much settler food culture.
Sure.
And all of the food that we think of as Canadian food, unless it is food that was indigenous to this place before, is food that was brought here by immigrants. So I think that it is okay if the food that we put on the table is not originally Canadian, if it has come to have a Canadian identity. Are we all on the same page with that?
Absolutely.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, we talked about this before in the chat too. As long as you kind of resonate that this food in your mind, and everyone else's too, but in your mind, you're like, this is a Canadian food. We're just going to take it. That's a nomination. I'm super cool with it. Again, it doesn't have to have originated here. It probably will be in some shape or form, maybe, but you know what we mean by Canadian food. The other thing that I brought forth too is before we did a Thanksgiving foods episode, and we're like, fuck it. We're not going to do a Thanksgiving drinks episode. That's stupid. So we are in the umbrella of foods. We are also introducing like Canadian drinks. Now, I think the spirit of this episode will probably be more food related, like what you typically eat in your mouth, chew it, that kind of stuff. But if someone nominates some sort of drink that's like trademark Canadian type of thing, then I'm totally fine with that. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Any other ground rules you guys want to go through before we get started?
How do people feel about Canadian ingredients? Not necessarily a food item nor a drink, but an ingredient.
I'd hear it out.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
David, I think that anything can be food if you eat enough of it, right?
I mean, it definitely could be a meal on its own if you really, really wanted to.
I'm like let's take salt for example as a neutral thing. You eat enough salt, that's food, even though it's an ingredient, right? I think you're good.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, if you gnaw on like a coax cable long enough and start ingesting that, that's food. Yeah. If you believe in yourself a little bit, right?
If you don't invite me onto your podcast to talk about food, you might become food, and that's part of it.
All right, I think we have everything we need, right?
I'd say so. I think that's enough to
I'd say
start
so.
our nominees.
Yeah, all right. Well, just like every episode of Ranked, we're going to go around 3 times, nominating 3 nominations each, making a master list of 12 and whittling that down to a top 5 Canadian foods episode. Oh, Canada, here we go. My first nomination is going to be it's an easy one. I think I like to start off just to ease everyone into it. Of course, with the first thing people think of, and I'm talking about around the world, they think about Canada. They think about this idea of poo and tin, and those words combined together to make poutine. Because French fries, gravy, cheese curds, you can't go wrong with it. Poutine, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm into it.
Did we all mark that off our nomination lists now?
I hadn't even bothered writing it on mine because I knew it was going to come up.
You knew it was going to come up. It's not the most, maybe it's not sexy because we all knew it was coming, but let's give Putin a little shout out. How much poutine have you actually had this last year and a half?
Oh, Tuong, you forget what province the 3 of us live in.
That's true.
Yes, it's true.
Really? You still go out to get that stuff? I mean,
No, but takeout, right?
yeah,
The
it's
poutine
true.
delivered to me at work just the other week.
Damn it.
And it destroyed me.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to hear a clarification because I've been saying it wrong my entire life. I've switched back and forth, although, you guys are in the place where it is very prominent. How do you say this word?
I delegate to Alex.
Putin?
Putin.
Putin.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're Anglophone, Putin. If you're Francophone, Putin.
Yeah.
It's
just the quality of the tea that changes if you're really
okay. But is it never
aiming-
poutine?
No, but
No.
like people who make a big deal out of that are annoying,
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know if it was one of those faux situations, faux situations, because that somewhat bothers me. Tom, you and I talked about this on a podcast once before. It's something personal to me. I wouldn't want to say it wrong for the people who really like poutine. Because what if I said poutine?
Oh, well, that's different.
Okay.
That's just the fancier pronunciation of it.
Yes, I have class. All right, let's go on to this second nomination. Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my... would I call it my favorite? It's certainly up there. I am a very big fan of smoked meat, so I'm going to throw a smoked meat into the ring here. Smoked meat, for anybody unfamiliar, is a little bit like pastrami, except don't say that too loud or people who make it will kill you.
Yeah, I haven't had a good smoked meat in a long time. Like Montreal smoked meat, I guess, is like the staple of smoked meat. And I assume you all have access to that on a daily basis.
Pretty much.
In theory, if it were less expensive.
Yeah, what are we talking about for a smoked meat sandwich?
Like if you're getting like an actual, they've shaved the brisket onto your plate, you get the loaf of rye with your plate and your pickles, your fries, your mustard, then that's like I haven't been to a restaurant in a very long time, so help me with money numbers.
Probably like
$18?
Yeah, I would say like 15 on the low end, 20 on the high.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's if you get it on just rye bread, because I know a place that does it in a baguette, and if you get it in a baguette, they're like, all right, we know you want to mess yourself up with some good meat, and they stuff it, and they don't stop stuffing it until the structural integrity of the baguette is collapsing.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So is it always the same? Like, I've had smoked meat before, but is it typically the same cut of meat that they use in smoked meat, or is it just they play around with a bunch of different type of meats and smoke them?
I should know this. I think it is typically the same cut every time.
Yeah, it's generally brisket.
Generally
I wanna
brisket.
say.
Alex, as a food expert, I need to hear your first nomination. What do you got?
All right, so I've gone with one that I actually thought was a completely different dish that I will go into as I approach this. Pudding chômeur, or as I grew up knowing it, economy pudding, because we're Anglo-Quebecers and we have to have our own names for everything. So pudding chômeur is one, like right off the bat, that means workman's pudding. Like it is Depression era, cheap dessert made by working class wives to sort of like, okay, this is a bunch of calories in one place. This will satisfy our husbands so that they will live, I guess. Basically, you're taking like a very simple cake batter with like, flour, eggs, cream, sugar, and then cooking that in like a casserole with generally like sort of a maple syrup base. And basically, its identifying feature is that it's technically an upside down cake, in that you're starting with this sauce layer on the bottom, and that migrates up to the top over the cooking process, and then that gets Maillardized and crusts up all nice and golden like. Now, the point of contention here is that by virtue of that last part, the upside down cake factor, my family evidently considered bread pudding to be pudding chômeur, and I did not realize they were distinct dishes until I was surprisingly old, like very nearly 30. So in my mind, bread pudding is in this category because, like, bread pudding, maple, maybe like some vanilla ice cream on that. Like, it's got the whole shebang. And as long as you're, cooking it with that, like, syrup base and letting that flow up to the top and saturate the whole thing all gooey and terrible for you, like, then it's pudding chômeur in my book, and it's delicious.
Love it.
I don't think I've ever had this before. Tom, Dave, what do you think?
It's good stuff.
I don't think I've ever had it myself, but I've definitely heard of it. And I think I was in the same boat of thinking it was a completely different dish like Alex.
Tom, you've had this before. You put this in your mouth.
It's not a like recurring staple for me, but it's real nice.
Okay.
The handful of times I've had it, I've enjoyed it.
Alex, is this a year-round dish you would have?
I'd say this is a year-round dish. Like, it is an old-school, like, working-class Quebecois classic at its roots, in that it's Depression cooking that caught on so well we're still making it nearly 100 years later.
It's because it's chock full of calories. My favorite.
Yes.
All right. How do I spell this? Or you don't have to what is the full name of this thing so I can write this down?
Pudding chômeur, and pudding is Pouding, like a French person trying to spell the English word pudding. That's literally the case.
Okay.
And then chômeur, CHO with a hat, MEUR.
All right. I just wrote pudding.
Perfect.
Just call it poverty pudding.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's good. It seems mean.
Or economy pudding. It's what we called it.
Pudding for my husband, whatever I want to call it. David, what do you got? What Depression era food do you have on your plate?
Well, I have something that is would be traditionally considered to be settler food, as I didn't originally think that this was a traditionally Canadian food, but then I actually looked into it, and it totally is. And I'm bringing split pea soup to the dinner table.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
And split pea soup can be made with either ham or some sort of pork, but I prefer not. Not in my belly, please. make me unhappy.
You don't like pork in your belly? I just want to clarify this.
I don't like pork in my belly.
You don't
it
like
makes my
pork?
insides very upset with me.
Oh, so it's like it's a biological thing. It doesn't agree with you.
I think it started out as a cultural thing, which turned into a biological thing.
Got it.
Ditto.
Yeah, fair enough.
But split pea soup is my nomination, as it is very good and sticks to your ribs and makes you real full, and it is good for you, I would argue.
It's good for you, so it's healthy.
Yeah, I would argue that split peas is a vegetable, and that there are probably other vegetables that go into it. I haven't made a split pea soup in at least 8 years, so
you don't even know if you still got it.
I don't know if I got the knack. I have knack for other soups. Good at soup. I can learn how to do this soup again.
All right. Okay, split pea soup. Has everyone had a split pea soup in their lifetime? Everyone's shaking their heads. Can you make... Here's the real question. Can you make a better split pea soup than Dave?
I think that I can. And I'm sorry, David, but I think it's really just because of the pork situation. I think that I could make a better split pea soup just by virtue of being able to tolerate pork.
Dave rebuttal.
And because I'm pretty good at cooking dried, legumes into what they need to be.
I mean, those are brave words from a person who needs pork to be a crutch in everything they make.
Oh, good. This is what I want. I want to stoke this fire and drama between three friends who like each other, but not for long.
Well, definitely 3 friends.
Alex, I'd be remiss I want to hear this. Yes.
I'm in a very similar boat to David, insofar as that while I did grow up in an environment where pork was consumed, I have not consumed pork in over a decade.
Yeah.
And so I am also a bit up a creek with that, because like the split pea soup I grew up with is also that like Quebecois style, slam your salt pork or your ham hock in there and just make the house stink of pork for 4 days kind of soup. And even just like it's not frequently done without it. Like if you're even trying to buy split pea soup, like just in a can, you need to be really careful to make sure you don't pick up one with lard, because that's the baseline assumption for this dish in terms of flavor profile. So I'd definitely be going at it with 1 to 2 hands tied behind my back. I would say Tom is the clear ham hock in this scenario.
I'll take it. I'm Daddy Pig.
Daddy Pig. I don't want to call you that ever until after this cast. All right, let's go into round 2. This is a surprising round run so far. I'm going to go with my second nomination, which also seems like an easy lob. But guess what? I like this food. It's fine. It's part of... I have this every single year. And you know what? It's really important to me in a way that Laura, my partner, she makes this. She makes kick-ass dessert. She's just good at this stuff. Baking, if you will, non-baking baking maybe, because like you don't really put this in the oven, I think. I don't know. I've never made it. I just taste it, and that's why I'm good at food. I am talking about Nanaimo bars, everyone.
Yep. Cross
so
that
good.
off my list now.
It's just such a tasty dessert. You got your layers of chocolate. You got your coconut type of middle, some wafer stuff going on, and just so much chocolate. I just love it. What do you guys all think about Nanaimo bars?
I'm a big fan. I ate them a lot growing up. It was a classic in my house. I haven't had them in years, but they're very good. And yeah, I had them on my list. It was, in fact, the second thing I wrote down when I was brainstorming earlier.
There's multiple layers of Nanaimo bars, quite literally, but also they have like lots going for it. You got your chocolate, your coconut, your nutty middles and stuff like that. So like just 3 to 4 different textures combined together to make this like really nice dessert. Alex, Dave, what do you think?
They are pretty good. I also grew up around them and also have not had them in a very long time because they melt your goddamn teeth. And so
I don't see a problem with that.
I would be somewhat remiss in putting them into my undercared for mouth. That being said, I don't see any point of contention here other than the obvious one. Tom, as somebody from the west of Canada
Yes.
where these are nominally from. What color should the colored part of a Nanaimo bar be?
Oh shit!
Oh man. So the middle layer of the Nanaimo bar is like traditionally typically custard, and to me custard is supposed to be kind of a yellowish white, so I would say more on the yellow side than on the white side, if that's what the question is you're asking.
That is the
Kind of
question
a
I'm
warm
asking.
beige.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Growing up, like, it was always like, if I went to a store and saw Nanaimo bars, they would be in that yellow cream range in terms of color. But anytime I ran into homemade Nanaimo bars, and this is like across the board in like suburban Anglo Montreal 30 years ago, green.
Yes, because they're mint usually. Yeah. So Laura, she makes Nanaimo bars, and yeah, they always come out green. I thought it was her love for the Hulk. It turns out it's not. It's just a minty thing, and
That sounds great. It's just not traditional.
right. And whatever. What's traditional? What's traditional,
Exactly.
Tom? Dave, Nanaimo bars. Would you put this in your mouth?
I sounds like I would. Have I ever? No. Have I ever heard of Nanaimo bars before today? Before asking my dad about what he thought about Canadian foods, and he went Nanaimo bars, and I went, I don't know what that is. What's that?
Have you not heard of the city of Nanaimo where they originated? I think probably.
I'm not good at geography, man.
Okay, well, we are on planet Earth. That's in Canada.
Canada
Debatable.
is really big, and there are lots of places within that very big place that I feel like it's okay if I missed out on Nanaimo.
You know, Dave, I am making fun of you, but I've also done very poorly in geography. I need a GPS to go down the street, so I don't blame you. Okay, here we go. Tom, second nomination.
Yeah. So remind me, do we go around 3 times or 4 times?
Well, you've been on the show multiple times.
I know, and I'm
don't know if
embarrassed
I'm
that I can't
allowed
remember.
to tell you this anymore.
It's 3, right?
It's 3.
Damn it. Okay. This is where it always starts to get tough for me, because as soon as I give my second one, I'm like, shit, I have one more left, but so many I want to make sure get in here. I think I'm going to go for something a little bit less Quebecois than the last thing that I mentioned. Just because I think that we, 3 out of 4 of us being in Quebec, I think that we run the risk of it getting a little like French Canadian heavy, and I think that's okay because like French Canadian food
Has
is a
some
strong
of
food culture here.
The
but
best
like,
food, yeah, for sure.
But I am going to go for one that is not specifically French Canadian and is more just a like Canadian food invention, I guess, Canadian food innovation, if you will, that has come to be known worldwide. It is a misnomer. It is bizarre. It is hotly contested by a lot of people who have nothing better to do with their time. My second nomination, of course, is the Hawaiian pizza. This is, of course, a pizza with ham and pineapple on it.
This
sometimes
is a
bacon
Canadian
and pineapple.
pizza?
Hawaiian pizza was, in fact, created here in the great colonized North.
Wow. This I did not know. Wow. Hawaiian pizza, let's hear it. I know everybody has opinions on it. Well, let's hear it. I personally freaking love Hawaiian pizza. Delicious.
I'm for it in principle. I mean, I, again, don't eat pork, but pineapple absolutely belongs on pizza, and putting it next to ham is almost as good as putting it next to a decent topping like sun-dried tomatoes or broccoli.
Oh, broccoli on a pizza, yes. Oh,
Pineapple
yes.
and broccoli together. Hello.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm just full of contention today. I don't eat meat and cheese on the same thing, so ham goes right out the window, and I don't like grilled fruits. I don't like them.
So the
just
Hawaiian
do something
pizza
bad for me.
is just a garbage pizza, is what
It's
you're
a
saying.
garbage fire of pizza, and that's okay. Hey, everyone's allowed to like bad things.
Fair enough. But you don't like cheese, is what you said on your pizza?
I don't like meat and cheese cooked together.
Together.
That combination makes me have a bad time.
Okay.
As my close friends can attest, as probably being around me as I have accidentally consumed these things together.
Okay, well, it sounds more like it's part of just, it just doesn't agree with you on like a few levels more than you just completely hate it, right?
Oh no, it's a disagreement of sorts.
Okay. Fair. Hawaiian pizza. I had no idea, Tom. So this is a big one for me. I like this nomination. I like where your head's at. Does it count because it has the Hawaiian in the name?
I think
yes,
by virtue of being from here, despite having a name from another place, ingredients that are not indigenous to Canada, and being a pizza, which is also an Italian dish, I think it is quintessentially Canadian.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Alex, second nomination.
All right. So I also am going to try and steer slightly abreast of Quebec, where I risk spending all of my nominations, and I'm going to therefore go with my most controversial choice of the day, I do not doubt. It is something that is near and dear to my heart, and that I have not gotten to enjoy in over a decade since starting to be a Jew who do not consume one of the core elements of this comestible, and that is this decidedly not Canadian, but boy do we love it up here, drink, Clamato.
Oh.
Particularly because this entire family of seafood tomato drink used as the vehicle for a cocktail of some kind, as in the case of the Caesar, which is delicious, or even like a red eye, which is Clamato and beer. You cannot go wrong. It's just clam juice, tomato, spices, and beer. But yes, Clamato, to any poor unfortunate souls unfamiliar with this fine beverage, is like getting a vegetable juice cocktail, except it's better by the addition of clam.
You wouldn't think so, but it really is.
Well, that's that umami flavor, right?
Exactly.
Because like when you say it out loud, and I like Clamato. But when you say it out loud, I'm like, clams and fucking tomato. What are we talking about here? That's disgusting. I don't want freaking fish-like things in touching my tomatoes. But no, I can mess around with a nice Caesar. I've completely gone a 180 on Caesars. Used to be like, Caesars? Well, I also was closed-minded back in the day. I'd be like, that's a freaking girl's drink, man. And that's a stupid opinion. But then as I started drinking the Caesar, I'm like, hey, I really like this drink. I take it back. It's everyone's drink. It's not a girl's drink. Who cares? Give me a little celery in there. Give me a pepperette in that Caesar. Whatever. They put everything in a Caesar now.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter. As long as it's food, they'll put it in a Caesar. All right, Dave, I feel like this is probably something you don't like. I don't know that for sure, but I'd like to hear it from you.
So it's actually funny, because I really like Caesars.
Yes!
I really, really do. And I think the reason I'm okay with that is because when I was a younger man, going out to bars with people in Quebec at definitely the legal drinking age, I would often get a Caesar because I liked spicy things. And I knew they were spicy. And I remember I got my first one, and I was drinking it. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's delicious. And then my friend nudges me, and he's like, hey, David, you know there are clams in that, don't you? I lost it for a brief moment where I was like, what? No, it's tomato juice. It's tomato juice. It's not tomato juice. It's clams.
Yeah.
So do you not get the same tummy trouble from seafood that you get from pork?
Depending on the seafood and how exposed I've been to it.
Sure.
And I think a part of it has to deal with if it's like a cooked thing. Because I know that I can tell you that calamari doesn't, especially when you mistake calamari for onion rings at a large sushi dinner. And then you slam 3 of them before you realize this doesn't taste like onion.
You slammed 3 of them before noticing it wasn't an onion ring?
Wow, this onion is so thick and chewy.
I was very hungry.
You had a couple of clamatos by then.
But clamato juice is actually pretty okay with me.
Fair enough.
I think it's just because I've exposed myself enough times to it to deal with it. And any uncertain tummy troubles I may have had may have also been just because I was smashed.
Right. Yeah.
Fair.
Well, of course. Yeah. I honestly would not have clamato on its own. I mean, I'm sure it would taste fine, but I want to fucking get drunk off of it usually. Let's be real here. So Tom, Clamato, Caesars, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is it your jam here?
So, I mean, I am an alcoholic and I do not drink. So Caesar's not my jam. But I do remember, I mean, yeah, a Clamato sans alcohol is kind of an odd choice. So I don't really do it. But like, yeah, it's good. I like it. It's just kind of one of those things. Yeah, you can have a Virgin Caesar, but then it's just kind of like, it's not something I would order. But if somebody was like, hey, I made Virgin Caesars, I would drink it and I would have a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, the thing with the Virgin Caesars I find is that, like, the regular Caesars, you can't taste the alcohol as, like, pungent as, like, other cocktail mixed drinks and stuff like that, which makes it very, like, drinkable. So you can drink it, you're like, oh, you can't even taste the alcohol, which you still can, but not really. So the Virgin version of it is still pretty good, I would say. But I have the most fun with, like, whatever weird foods that they put in it. Give me a giant pickle in general, and then in the Caesar. Okay, let's go with Dave. What do you have as your second nomination?
So for my second nomination, is near and dear to my heart, as it is a mixture of many different things that are all good on their own, but when put together, they create the perfect spice. I am, of course, talking about Montreal steak spice.
Whoa, a spice. Is this what you were talking about earlier?
This is what I was talking about. I got the okie dokie, and I'm putting it slam on the table, spreading it everywhere, and giving you all a little bit of taste.
You just put spice all over the table. This is going to get an... Oh, God. What is in a Montreal steak spice?
So, you have granulated onion, you have black pepper, you have chili flakes, you have garlic, paprika, kosher salt, mustard seed, dill seeds, and the most important, I would say, coriander seeds.
Okay.
Those are the ingredients to make a very good Montreal steak spice.
I like it.
Do you know, David, do you know this, that our mutual friend and fellow Natural Toonie player Andy Sherman is related to the guy who created Montreal steak spice?
Yes, I am.
Is he actually?
He is. He is the, I believe, great nephew of Morris the Shadow Sherman from Schwartz's Deli here in Montreal.
Amazing.
That's impressive to invent a spice. Invent a spice that made this covenant list? Like, oh my God. Yeah, I feel like I've had Montreal steak spice. Everything you said sounds fantastic. I just don't remember. I don't have it in my cupboard. It's not a staple, I guess.
If you've had Montreal smoked meat, you have had Montreal steak spice, because like 9 times out of 10, that is what it is rubbed in.
Okay. Yeah, again, I'm not in that neck of the woods, so I don't have access to that stuff as often. I assume you all love Montreal steak spice.
It's a staple.
I would say that I love it a lot more because I don't just limit its potential to steak. You can put it in so many things. I used to work at a spice factory, and by spice factory, it was mostly just open bag of spice, put in grinder, sell. And they produced their own Montreal steak spice, and it was the best blend that I had ever tasted in my life. And honest to God, I put that shit on everything. It went in shawarma, it went in spaghetti, it went on top of pizza, it went in steak, it went on everything.
Mac and cheese.
It is really good
even mac and
on
cheese
fried
too.
eggs.
Mac and cheese, fried eggs, scrambled eggs, any dish.
Any dish.
Dish.
Okay, here, I'm going to start naming stuff. Ready? Pancakes.
Ooh, baby, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put some in maple syrup. Throw it in there.
Oh, yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah, baby.
You could do it. You could honestly do it. It is that versatile and good.
You're telling... Okay, all right, moving on from ice cream. What about deep fried worms?
I mean, if you were going to make deep fried worms more palatable,
You know,
probably throw
you're
some
probably
steak
right,
spice on
actually.
it.
I would say, though, in that case, you should maybe mix the steak spice into the dredge instead of putting it on afterward, because you want the steak spice to kind of be part of the coating, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah,
so it's okay.
With your deep fried worms.
Yeah, I don't want to have deep fried worms, by the way. But, knowing
I'll
Dave...
scratch that off my list.
Dave would probably eat it before realizing they're not onion rings.
I mean, they're definitely not French fries. And also, not a gummy worm. My brain, why did you think it was?
Let's go to round 3, everyone. Round 3, the final round of Canadian food. There's so many foods out there. How do we choose? Well, we have to. We have to. Someone's going to say we picked wrong, but they're not going to say that for my final nomination. I was debating between 2 of them. I've nominated this food before on a separate podcast, but it's so quintessentially Canadian. When you think of Canada, you think of that maple leaf. You look at it and you're like, I want to eat that maple leaf and suck those juices out of it. I don't know if anyone's saying this. I'm just talking about maple syrup, everyone.
You know it doesn't come out of the leaves, right?
No, Tom, actually, I used to work at this maple syrup factory, and I know the person who invented it as well. Yes, I do know that. By the way, I've seen those taps on trees and things like that. I tried to suckle at those taps once when I was young. You can't do that at places that you visit, by the way. That's a no-go.
That's part of the special tour.
You got to pay for the VIP tour for that one. But hey, maple syrup. Listen, I talked about it in top 5 condiments. I would consider it a food. It's just, there's differences between low tier maple syrup and high tier maple syrup or anything in between. If you just get your basic maple syrup, it's serviceable. You still put it on pancakes, you put it on bacon, whatever you want it to do for those basic ass things. It's fine. It's good enough. It'll do the job. But if you get quality ass maple syrup, changes the game. That flavor is just incredible. You can do so much with maple syrup. And with that, what do you all think?
I love it.
Hell yeah. And it is definitely a food item because maple candy just exists, which is just food maple syrup.
If it's food enough that you can pour it on snow, eat the snow, and call that a dish, it's food.
Yes. There's so many, I talked about this in the top 5 condiments episode with maple syrup. When we did earlier this year, I discovered maple syrup like Brussels sprouts. You put like a glaze of maple syrup on these like Brussels sprouts. Holy, just completely turns this into like a candied vegetable almost. And it's so good. And, there's other things you can put maple syrup on as well. It's a long list. But let's go with the final nomination. Tom, what do you think?
Oh, this is so hard because I think I didn't realize how many Canadian foods were near and dear to my heart until I sat down and started writing it out. And I'm really glad that we'll have time for honorable mentions later because there's a lot. This is so frustrating because I feel like these go together. One of the ones that I want to nominate and one of the ones that I'm going to nominate. Fuck it. Okay. I'm so mad. My final nomination is one that I think, I've got to go with it. This is something that growing up on the West Coast, I ate a lot of, and then also coming back here to the East Coast, as much as Quebec is that. Both kind of ends of the country do this.
I guess so,
to varying degrees of quality with different types of initial ingredients by virtue of those being the ingredients that are available to them. This is something that I think ostensibly really could have been an Indigenous ingredient. I don't know offhand that it is. I know that when I think about it, I primarily associate it with Jewish food, but I suspect that probably it is made in some Indigenous communities as well by virtue of it being something that you can make really, really easily just with stuff that we have, and that is smoked salmon. Smoked salmon, of course, being a cured fish product that is delicious and wonderful and often served on, bagels and delicious. I love smoked salmon. I love smoked Atlantic salmon. I love smoked Pacific salmon. Yeah. My heart is on both coasts.
Would you say, I guess salmon in general, I would call pretty Canadian as a food, right? But you're nominating specifically smoked salmon.
Specifically.
Have you eaten a lot of smoked salmon throughout the years? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even count. Yeah. You've devoured many of fish.
I think that about 90% of the salmon I've eaten in my life has been smoked.
Nice.
To the point where most of the other salmon I have eaten has been on sushi. And usually when you get salmon sushi, you get the nigiri that has unsmoked salmon on one piece, and then the other piece is smoked salmon. So yes, mostly smoked.
Love smoked salmon. Love it. Alex, thoughts?
It is a very good thing, and something I have, in fact, actually eaten a lot of as well. I would not go so far as Tom has to say that the majority of my salmon consumption has been smoked, but in terms of fish that I would just eat anytime, it is like second, maybe third best breakfast fish.
Breakfast fish. You have a tier of breakfast fish?
He does.
Yes.
He does.
Confirming Native American cultures do, in fact, do smoked salmon.
Excellent.
I just did some Googling.
That's great. But I need to go back to this top 3 breakfast fish idea. Because
Yeah.
It was spoiler. It's all bad.
I just need to know. Yeah, thanks, Dave. I don't really have fish for breakfast, I guess. I'm not against it. I just don't typically be like, you know what I want for breakfast is some fucking fish right now.
That would be because you are wrong. The correct answer is to eat breakfast fish. The correct way to do so, naturally, is to have your proper fried fish and chip supper the previous night. Not eat all of the fish. Make additional fish for breakfast. Put that fish in the fridge. Take your fish. Take your zesty cocktail sauce. Dip. Eat. Be a barbarian. Eat breakfast fish. Haddock. Cod. Any whitefish. All good choices.
Okay.
Breakfast smoked salmon, slightly beneath that. It cannot compare to the delicious, like, the savoriness of like a good beer-battered fried haddock that has then had time to chill, congeal, set, get all of that solid fat in there, and then just introducing it to that, like, those kicks of tomato and horseradish and the general flavor profile of cocktail sauce as you dip and eat.
Alex, I'm so excited from your passion about breakfast fish in general and, you know, miming out dipping fish into sauce and then eating it on the Zoom call. I guess, like, you know, some people eat Cheerios for breakfast, some people eat pancakes, and you just want to eat a whole lot of fish. So
Yes.
that's fine. That's fine. Dave, would you eat some fish for breakfast?
I would. Specifically, bagel and lox. It's a good time.
Okay, yeah. Now, would you, Dave, smoke a salmon? Roll it up and smoke it.
I think that is a interesting idea, and that is something for a braver man than I.
I bet Alex would do it for
a braver
breakfast.
person, really. Alex would definitely do it.
If there's 2 things I know about Alex, it's that he has fish for breakfast and that he smokes.
Yes.
Smokes fish. Yeah.
Smoke your
Tobacco
breakfast
out.
fish.
Weed out. I'm in fish, baby. Fish land. Get those omega-3s a different way.
I'm really shook by this idea of fish and chips left over for breakfast, because when you started saying, like, smoked salmon is the number 3 breakfast fish, I was like, okay, I know a lot of people who will do, like, sardines on toast or, like, anchovies on toast.
Those
So I
are
thought that
good,
was
too.
the direction you were going, and then you're like, you know, the best thing is to take a cold piece of breaded cod and dip it in sauce.
Yep.
Okay.
It just sounds like leftovers from the previous night for breakfast.
It's
which
like
is not a
breakfast
problem.
pizza, but an order of magnitude better. And I love breakfast pizza.
Yeah, okay. I'm in.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Yep, that's fair. You got me at breakfast pizza. I'm back on board. Now, if it was a fishy pizza, then we're out. Okay, so the final nomination, Dave, what do you think?
I think with the conversation.
Oh, wait, hang on. Did I skip someone? Hang on.
Yeah, you skipped
Alex. Dave, never mind. Hold that
Oh,
thought.
you're right.
Alex.
Oh, goodness. Right.
We're so
We
on
need
board
to-
with you talking about fish. I thought it was your nomination.
That's entirely fair. I decidedly held forth. Okay, so I need to nominate a thing, and the thing I'm going to nominate is I'm going to sort of expand this slightly. I will give a specific example, but that specific example is really more my chosen herald of this broader category for which it is the harbinger, and that is Wild Game of Canada, the broader category. In the specific, an example that I have enjoyed on many occasions, Canada Goose. They are surprisingly good, and there is a real satisfaction in one eating your national, like something that is so emblematic of your country while alive. And 2, I get to feed directly on their rage and fuel myself with it that I might further rage. My youngest brother used to hunt back in the day before he had an accident. He can't use guns anymore because he can't see very well. It's a very long story. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. The point is,
sounds fairly straightforward. Really.
He would very frequently hunt Canada goose when it is in season because there's a ton of it. It's easy to get a permit. And nobody in my family would eat this. I would go to my parents to visit and he would just give me a freezer bag full of bird breasts because nobody in my parents' house would touch this delicious, gamey, goose breast. And you can do so much with it. It's really dark and nice and flavorful. Personally, I like gaminess. That's a me thing. I've never understood what other people are complaining about in that. But across the board, I am all for encouraging eating the things that are from here. They are not as expensive. They are not as expensive for the planet. Yeah. They are here. People have eaten them for a very long time because of that. Eat them.
Yeah.
They're good. Yeah. And they're angry.
I just love the idea of you just devouring a Canada goose and you're just being I'm being so patriotic right now.
Oh, yes.
I'm doing this for Canada. No, that's great. I've never had Canada goose before. Never. I would try it. I am an eater that I love food. I'm very not picky when it comes to food. I will try anything. And even if I don't like it and it's offered to me, I probably still have a couple bites just to make sure that I still don't like it, So I'd like to hear it from Tom and Dave. Have you had Canada goose before?
Not to my knowledge, but I would. I mean, I'm with Alex in the gamey meat I enjoy. We had Cornish game hens for Christmas dinner this year, which is admittedly one of the less gamey of the game animals, but it has game in the name, damn it. I love venison, so yeah, gamey goose. Gamey goose. I like a gamey goose. I would eat it. It sounds great. I'm a little bummed that your brother doesn't shoot geese anymore because I was going to ask you to pick me some up next time. But
I mean, he may be back to it now. We don't talk very often, but there was a good couple of years where, he legally couldn't handle a gun because he can't see.
That doesn't seem like something you get back pretty quick to be able to. I don't know. I'm not sure. But Dave, I heard you are an excellent hunter?
Yes.
Question mark? Yes?
Am I?
I don't know.
Maybe.
You tell me. If you hunted a goose?
I would eat a goose. I think I have had enough negative experiences with geese in my life that I would feel a great deal of satisfaction of eating one of their kin.
Okay. Now, as the great hunter that you are, how would you go about fighting, let's say, 50 geese that are coming after you?
If I was gonna, okay, I've thought about this. I would want a very long crook, and then I just want to whack. Just grab things by the neck and swing them into other geese.
Okay.
That is what I would want to do.
So you just grab one geese and then use that as the weapon to fight off the other 49 geese.
Pretty much. With a long stick with a hook attached, grab that one with the hook, and then just use that to keep the others at bay.
Okay.
I think I could take on 50 geese.
All
51
right.
geese,
Sure.
I think I'm dead.
That's fair. I don't even think I can take on 5. They seem like angry animals, like you said, Alex.
Mm-hmm. The goose is, teeth. After all, nature's flail. It's why if you grab it by the neck, it's a flail.
Oh, that's fact. That's just I heard that on National Geographic once.
I think I
Morgan
saw David
Freeman said that.
Do that.
Here we go, Dave. Final nomination.
I'll be super quick with mine, and it's going to make a lot of people in New York very angry. I'm going to say Montreal bagels. Yes! You're welcome,
yes!
Tom.
That was my other one.
I could tell with how you said it, what you were saying and how you were saying it. I'm like, let's talk about Montreal bagels and lox and smoked salmon. I know. I got you. So yeah.
Kiss you on the mouth.
Again. With a goose. So I don't know what makes a Montreal bagel, it must be witchcraft or sorcery or something in the water. Tom probably knows. Alex probably knows. I don't know. I just know that I've had bagels in Montreal, I've had bagels in New York, and I've had bagels in Toronto. Montreal bagels, number one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also don't know why they're better. They just are, Alex?
So there are a couple of factors here, and feel free to jump in at any point, Tom, in case you know better or sure. I'm talking out of my elbow, as I am wont to do. So what defines Montreal bagels specifically in terms of like setting them apart from other annular breads is that, one, they are, before being baked, boiled in a honey water solution. And there is usually some boiling step in the bagel process, even in a New York style, but you're dealing with a somewhat different dough that tends to be a bit more cakey, whereas with a Montreal bagel, you've got a certain density there. In addition to taking on sweetness during that boiling and infusing period. The other core difference is that to be like a properly labeled Montreal-style bagel, it's cooked in a wood-burning oven. Yeah. Which is not generally standard practice with a New York bagel. Like, that's not a defining feature. Mm-hmm. And, like, the bagel houses here in Montreal, like Fairmount, like St. Viator's, like, rest in peace, Dad's Bagels, all used to, use a wood-burning oven and still do if they still operate to this day, which gives them a very particular finish, especially when you're dealing with, like, sesame seeds on there, because, like, the flash point on sesame oil is low enough that the whole seed tends to go through much more of a Maillard reaction, become much more darker and flavorful than what you'd run into on a bagel from basically anywhere else. Which is why other bagels suck, and we have the good ones.
I'll add that a thing that I find interesting about the like Montreal versus New York style bagel thing is like they are not super different in terms of initial composition, right? Because they both have malt, they both have a boiling situation that happens beforehand. Although in New York bagels they're just boiled in salted water rather than a honey water, so like they're not going to be as sweet. But what I find bonkers, so really the main difference there, I guess, would be the wood-fired oven. But what I find ridiculous is, like, New York is a city with so much pizza that it's wild to me that at no point did they go, what if we make these in, wood-fire ovens that we have, and instead just opted for baking them? I don't get it. I don't get it. The other bagel thing that I find interesting that I thought you guys might find interesting, have you heard of the St. Louis style bagel, as in St. Louis, Missouri?
No.
No, what is it?
I don't believe so.
The St. Louis bagel is not referring to the way that the bagel is baked at all. It's referring only to the way that they slice it. So essentially, you've heard of this. They slice it into essentially bagel like sticks, almost like they are horizontal slices, and then dip it into various things, usually cream cheese or butter or something. And I think that this was originally so that it would be easy to eat while driving. And I just thought that was kind of cool. It's weird, but I think it's kind of cool.
Bagels can be unwieldy when you're driving. A little bit. Interesting. Okay. Dave, did you learn something today?
I did learn something today.
Yeah. Can you repeat everything they just said about Montreal-style bagels?
No,
Montreal's
bagels are made with magic and witchcraft.
Oh, there we go. Of course, yes. That's what I got from it as well. Well, now we officially have our list of 12 of Canadian foods. I'm excited to rank these in a little bit, but we're going to take a quick break, fight 50 Canadian Goose, and if we win, we'll come back and make this into a top 5. We'll be back.
Honk, honk, honk.
Oh, shit.
Honk,
fuck. Oh, no. Oh, God.
The gooses
Stop.
The geese, they're back.
Honk, honk.
Alex, you said you take care of him.
Well, the only way I can get rid of these geese is obviously by using this Amazon affiliate link. Because there's one thing that no goose can abide. It's giving kickbacks to the Pod Cavern.
Oh my God, are you saying that if we use the Amazon affiliate link at podcavern.com, it will defeat these geese somehow?
It will not only defeat the geese, it'll support your favorite podcasting people. You!
Does that work for anything that I get on Amazon, or is there specific catches?
anything you want, baby. Anything at all. Okay, so Dave, there's no time to waste. Order something off Amazon and defeat this goose, for God's sake.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just type in giant inflatable goose and use the affiliate link. Quickly, one more time. What is it?
Podcavern.com, and then they click on the Amazon affiliate link right on the front page.
Okay, perfect. Okay, here you go. Giant inflatable goose. I'm gonna whack you.
Have mercy.
No mercy here. You have none for us.
Podcavern.com. And also, they fell in love afterwards. The inflatable goose and Tom's goose. They fell in love, made a little inflatable goose baby, and they lived happily ever after.
Honk.
Sounds gross when you're doing that swallow noise.
You ever seen a goose kiss? Podcavern.com.
Top five, top five, top five.
Hey everyone, we are back. We are ready to rank our top 5 Canadian foods list, because guess what? We just had a little breakfish. We had a little fish on our break. We dipped it in sauce. Alex told us how to do it. You know what? I've come around on fish. I've always liked fish, but breakfast fish, break fish, it's all new to me. So thank you for that. Okay, everyone, this might be tough. This might be hard because our list, pretty kick-ass. So I'm going to read it to you. We have poutine, or as some people would call it, poutine. Nobody would call it that. We also have smoked meat. I'm not going to say it this way because I wrote it down because Alex told me how to write it down, but I'm not confident in how to say it. So I'm going to let you say it.
Pudding chômeur.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I could have said that. That's easy. Split pea soup, Nanaimo bars, Hawaiian pizza. Not the pizza I thought that would make this list. Clamato, Montreal steak spice. And then we have maple syrup, smoked salmon, Canada goose, and Montreal-style bagels. Lots of Montreal rep going on here. It's kind of like a takeover happening. I don't know.
I warned you.
You did warn me, and it happened anyway.
Hang on, what pizza did you think was going to come up?
Canadian pizza?
Oh, I assumed all dressed, because that's also strictly Canadian.
Fair,
yeah, but all dressed pizza?
Yeah, pepperoni, mushroom, green pepper.
And green pepper, yeah.
Oh, okay. Canadian pizza is pepperoni, mushroom, and what's the other one? Bacon?
Bacon.
Mm-hmm. Bacon.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it
All
a Quebecois pizza here.
I always forget that all dressed pizza is just an us thing.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. I just learned that today, too.
Yeah, it's like a northeastern North America kind of thing. They have it in parts of New England, but like anything further south of like New York, I don't think they have it.
I'm doing so much learning today. Thank you,
I feel
Tom.
like this may be untrue, but I think that in New York they maybe call it a pizza with the works. But I might be wrong about that.
Okay.
That is quite plausible.
Yeah, all dressed. Well, I guess we can talk about this honorable mentions, but yeah, that I also learned today that was a Canadian thing, which I did not know. Like all dressed chips, for example, ketchup chips, all those things. But we'll talk about it later because right now we got to rank what's in front of us. So how we're going to do it is we're going to go around. We're going to star nominations for further consideration. That we really like these nominations, so we are going to star them, and the rest can just go away because they're not good enough. They're not going to make the top 5. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. So, Tom, do you want to star a nomination that isn't one of your own?
Yeah, I'm going to star bagels.
Okay. Bagels. Okay, Alex, what do you want to star that's not one of your own?
I was also going to star bagels, but in the absence of this, I will star smoked salmon because they belong together.
Okay. Dave?
I'm going to star maple syrup.
All right, this is... I really like smoked meat. Probably more than smoked salmon, but that's a talk we'll have. Okay, so now that we've starred maple syrup, smoked meat, smoked salmon, and Montreal-style bagels. We can go around again, but this time I want you to... If you feel like you want to star one, go ahead, and now it can be one of your own. If you really have a big claim into this one, you're like, I really love Canada Goose. Now's the time. So... Tom, star one, anyone.
Yeah, I want to star Putin just because I think of all of the things in this list of 12, it is the one that when you ask people in other countries what a Canadian food is, it comes up. So I'm gonna star Putin.
deserves conversation for sure. Alex, is there any other ones you want to star?
No.
Okay, and Dave?
I want to put in a fight for Montreal steak spice.
Sure.
Okay, I like people who fight, so this will be great. So we have poutine, maple syrup, smoked meat, smoked salmon, Montreal steak spice, and Montreal bagels. That's 6. I want to put in the fight for Nanaimo bars, at least just to talk about. I think there's something there that we could talk about. But the ones that aren't starred, let's just make sure it's not going to happen. Okay, so Hawaiian pizza. Are we okay that it's probably not going to make the top 5?
I'm pretty okay with that.
Fine by me.
Yeah. Okay. Pudding, show me. Which is not how you say it, but can I get rid of this so I never have to say it again?
I'm going to start it just so that you have to say it again.
No. I mean, let's be real here. It's the Depression time pudding. I get it. Alex?
I can understand dropping it. It is near to my heart, but considering half the call had not heard of it, it is reasonable that it would not be emblematic of Canadian food.
Right.
I want it gone so I can stop looking at it and stop misreading it as pounding Shomer.
That's what I originally wrote. All right, Clamato. So we did open up the floodgates, which turns out to be a very tiny drip to drinks on this list. And Clamato is the only one that's kind of, well, I mean, I guess a soup is kind of like a drink, but you know what I'm talking about, Clamato. Are we having this on the list and all? Like, what do you think? Do we want this?
I think it could belong on a top 5 drink list, but not on a top 5 food list, especially with the other competitors that are here.
Yeah.
I think it deserves to make the top 10, but I don't think it's the top 5.
I'm sorry, but we're not doing that, Tom.
Tom.
I also really don't like the implication that you would just drink split pea soup. That's not a texture for drinking.
You know what? Don't judge me, okay? It's a soup. You can drink any soup, Tom. Okay.
Yeah, it's breakfast soup. You leave it in the fridge overnight. And you wake up.
Dip it in some cocktail sauce.
Now, Alex, the question is, would you drink a goose?
Yes, obviously.
Of course they would.
I mean, if there were a hill I would die on, it is the hill that is geese.
Okay.
And
famously, they don't spend a lot of time on hills, I believe. Geese.
all the more reason to die on one for geese. But also because, in theory, Canada Goose is there as the spearhead of all Canadian wild game that includes a panoply of other traditionally eaten foods. And I think that is important.
Let's start it, because it sounds like you have enough of a fight for it that maybe we can just talk about it some more. Split pea soup. Dave, thoughts?
I think it is a very niche thing that you'd have to have a very strong relation to it, and it's not something I'll fight here. It's definitely on my own top 5 list in my heart, but I see the competition, and I don't want to put my good boy through the ringer. I don't want my split pea soup to see that conflict. I'll just put it to the side and let it fight another day. Not this
Gonna
bloody
let it
war.
split.
God,
Tom, I told you before the show not to.
I guess when I wrote it, I wrote down spit pea soup. I thought you would spit into it.
Oh.
Because it sounds disgusting.
It's a ham substitute.
Okay, all right. So once again, here is our starred nominations. We have poutine, Nanaimo bars, maple syrup, smoked meat, smoked salmon, Canada Goose, Montreal steak spice, and Montreal bagels. We have to cut 3 for our top 5. And what we're going to do to make things easier, or we're going to do something called locks. So how locks work is I'm going to read that list slower next time, and locks have to be unanimous. If we all lock it in, then it's likely to make our top 5 list, and this is just a way for us to narrow things down. You can use as many locks as you want. They're not binding. It's just a way for us to navigate through this conversation. So with that said, is poutine a lock?
Lock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nanaimo bars, lock or no lock? I would lock it myself.
I think I'm good with locking it so that we have some dessert representation and
That's
some
why.
West
That's
Coast
why I would
representation.
Sure, yeah. Alex, Dave?
I can't lock it. I don't know what
That's
it
fine.
is.
Hey, it's okay. That's why we're gonna fight about it later. Maple syrup, lock or no lock?
That's a lock for me.
That's a lock for me too.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel it kind of has to be there.
Smoked meat, lock or no lock? That's a lock for me.
That's a hot lock.
I'm okay with not locking. Like, of the Montreal items that are on this list, it is second or third place for me.
Okay, we'll move on. Smoked salmon, lock or no lock?
Smoked salmon is locks.
You son of a bitch.
God damn it.
But also, I
was
think we
waiting
should
for
lock it.
I will not lock it personally, so we'll move on. The old Canada goose, lock or no lock?
I mean, as the only person who's eaten one, clearly I am all in favor of locking them. In my freezer with their breasts removed that I may feast upon them. Why am I speaking?
You sound like a serial killer.
Surgery is free in Quebec.
Is it okay to lock it on the grounds that would force Alex to continue talking and defending Goose?
Yes, of course.
I am locking for this reason alone.
Yeah, let's lock Canada Goose.
I am not locking it, but we'll move on, and we will have a chance for Alex to talk weirdly about geese some more.
Yes.
Montreal steak spice, lock or no lock?
It's only going to be a lock for me, I guess.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Sorry, bud.
I'm sorry. But Montreal style bagels.
I'll lock
That's
that.
a big old lock.
That's a lock.
Lucky.
Dave?
Yeah, heck yeah. Big lock.
Heck yeah. All right. Okay, so we accomplished quite a bit there. We got poutine locked, we got maple syrup locked, and we have Montreal style bagels locked. That just means we need 2 more to make it on this list. So the ones that weren't locked were Nanaimo bars, smoked salmon, Canada Goose, and Montreal steak spice.
And smoked meat.
So what are we thinking here?
I'm going to rally hard for smoked salmon. If only because I think that smoked salmon is, of the meat options that we have here, it is the only one that is like universal to the, air quotes country of Canada, in that it is also something that is historically eaten by the people who actually have a right to this land, while also being kosher and also being available on both coasts.
Yeah.
It feels like the all-encompassing Canadian meat option.
Interesting.
If you can call fish a meat. That's debatable.
I like that argument. Thoughts? Everyone else?
It's a very good argument.
Yeah.
I would also say, though, but smoked meat is so, I want to say, richer here. And it has such a deep culture within certain communities. Not as broad, but certain... Montreal is known and put on the map for its smoked meats. Mm-hmm. And as far as by today's emblematicacy, I don't know how to say that word. I want to say it's cultural resonance to people today. Smoked meat, high contender.
Yeah, that's tricky. As someone who's not from Montreal, we've mentioned this many, many times, that I view smoked meat, next time I go to Montreal, 10 years, whatever it is, I would go for smoked meat because I really like that flavor. I really like that texture, whatever it is. But in an argument that you just said, Tom, I like the idea of salmon being on this list because I think salmon is really quintessentially Canadian in a big ways, or what we view as Canada. And, your arguments that you just mentioned makes a lot of sense for this list as well. So I could definitely lean into smoked salmon if we were going to go that way.
I definitely could too. I just wanted to give smoked meat a fair shake.
I think if I had the choice between the two of them right now in this moment, I would definitely go eat some smoked meat before I'd eat smoked salmon. But I ain't gonna be mad if it was just smoked salmon available. I'd eat that shit.
Well, that's
because
it.
It's not breakfast time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
Like, even as the person who's like arguing for smoked salmon here, if I were in a situation, gun to my head, which would I rather eat at any given time? It's probably smoked meat. But which do I think is more Canadian? I think smoked salmon.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, I am willing to back off on geese because I think salmon is hitting that same niche in that it is universal, it is older than us, and it is accessible to anybody who's willing to at least take a life for a bite.
So this is sad to me, because if we do this, then it sounds like this is the last we'll hear about Canadian geese from Alex. So, Alex, do you want to say your piece about this before we say goodbye?
Say your geese piece.
Always. I mean, once again.
Let's hear about your freezer some more.
What else you hiding in there?
I mean, like, once again, Canada geese, they've got a lot going for them insofar as that their vitriol towards us informs the tastiness of them. Secondly, like, everybody sees them in the absence of passenger pigeons, a bird I did want to talk about today, but then decided not to nominate Tourtière. I was very disappointed in reading about Tourtière to learn that it's not actually named after passenger pigeons. That is a folk etymology that people pass around. But Canada geese are one of the other bird wonders of North America. Not unlike the passenger pigeon. But unlike the passenger pigeon, they are still alive, except for the ones I have eaten. I think that is plenty.
Okay. I don't want this conversation to end, to be honest. I just want to hear more about this. But, of course, maybe we'll shut the doors on this. We'll leave it at that. Maybe we'll open up another can of worms later. But I think it's time to say goodbye. Let them fly away, the Canada goose. Goodbye.
Can we get a 21 honk salute for our fallen comrades?
Yes, go ahead.
Honk, 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 honk,
honk. Yeah. That's a lot of honking, yeah.
That's some good audio, boys.
Do 11, Alex. I did 10.
Honk, 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 honk.
Wow, this is
yeah,
quality podcasting right now.
That's why they pay me the big honks.
Yeah, Okay, so does that mean smoked meat is gone too? It'd be weird if smoked salmon and meat were on the same list, I think.
Yeah. I'm willing to drop really smoked good meat because of who the other contenders are.
Yeah, if we want like a more varied list, right? So we have Nanaimo Bar and Montreal Steak Spice were the other two. So we have poutine, maple syrup, Montreal bagels, and smoked salmon. So we have to pick between Nanaimo Bar and Montreal Steak Spice, it looks like.
My vote is Nanaimo Bar.
Dave, let's hear your fight.
All right. So I think that Montreal Steak Spice, yes, is emblematic of Montreal only. But isn't Montreal just a little piece of really only Canada and not really Quebec? So of the things that come out of Montreal, they are more Canadian because they're not Quebec.
This is the argument you wanted to lead with?
No. This is the argument I start with to lead into that I cannot name a single thing that Montreal Steak Spice would not go well with. I think it is a flavor enhancer and that every ingredient listed on this amalgamation of things would be made better with Montreal Steak Spice.
Interesting.
And I also can't fight for Nanaimo bars because I only learned about what these things are today. So I can't even diss them properly.
Right. I like a thing that can go on a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. Sounds like a kick-ass condiment, if you will, or a spice, like whatever. But Alex and Tom, I'm curious, as you've had a lot of Montreal Steak Spice. Are you willing to go the distance on it?
I mean, it's an interesting call for me in that, like, I think of Montreal Steak Spice as being more of like an everyday accessible item. Like, growing up, it is something that would go on just about everything. Burgers, steak spice, like any kind of meat that wasn't like boiled was going to end up with Montreal Steak Spice on it in our house growing up. Whereas Nanaimo bars were very specific, like that was a holiday thing. That was like, oh, we're having a barbecue in the summer. Let's make some Nanaimo bars. It's special occasion, but it's not like so good I have to have it all the time.
So this is a tough one for me, I think, just because I don't know where my loyalties lie, to be honest. as a as a Montrealer who spent their childhood on the West Coast and still frequents the West Coast, I'm real torn on this one because I think that David is right that Montreal steak spice is a delightful thing that goes well with pretty much everything. I also think that Nanaimo bars are really, really wonderful, and we don't have any dessert on this list yet, and we do have a really like Montreal heavy. Like
that's true.
So far, literally all 4 of the things that we have locked are things that are primarily smoked salmon's not primarily Quebecois, but the other 3 are, and smoked salmon is very popular here by virtue of being close to the ocean, and also there are Jews here. So like I don't know that I'm comfortable putting Montreal steak spice on this list in the final 5 over Nanaimo bars.
Echo that. If we want to like capture more, I love this idea of Montreal steak spice. It sounds amazing, and I probably have had it before. I probably had it before, and I'm certain that it will taste things better, like our deep fried worms that we're so crazy about in this podcast. But yeah, you're right. Like the dessert factor of it is something that I feel like we're missing. There's like a really big desserty type of, a lot of people would probably nominate on their own top 5 list for Canadian foods that wasn't even mentioned yet. And we also have a lot of representation of Montreal. However you want to like spin that, right? Like it's a tough one. I would lean to Nanaimo bars personally because of that reason.
I have a final thought on this, and that final thought is that in times where my heart is having trouble between 2 things and I cannot decide what direction I want to lean, I go to search engine optimization and I ask which of these 2 things is Googled more frequently on a worldwide basis over the past 12 months, and overwhelmingly it is Nanaimo bars over Montreal steak spice from what I am seeing in the trends on Google Trends. Now, don't get me wrong, neither of them is Googled particularly often outside of Canada, but the spike worldwide is the difference, I guess, worldwide between Nanaimo bars and Montreal steak spice is more dramatic than it is within Canada, but in both cases, Nanaimo bars are more frequently Googled than Montreal steak spice. So I think that's where I'm going to go with this. I don't know.
I mean, you're using stats.
I wonder if that stat is more related to the question of what even is a Nanaimo bar? Because people just know what Montreal steak spice is because it's in the name. That is my argument. I am done.
I feel like many more people know what a Nanaimo bar is than what constitutes a Montreal steak spice. Even though you've never had a Nanaimo bar before, Dave, I'm sending you one in the mail right now. It might melt, but you're gonna have to eat it and let me know how it is.
Okay, I will do this, and I might be convinced otherwise, but it does sound as though there is a 3-1 going on. I concede and I accept this, but I will say Montreal steak spice will have its revenge.
It's gonna come after us afterwards.
They're gonna team up with the goose.
The goose is gonna just have a Montreal steak spice shaker in its mouth and just pour it all over our eyes. Yeah, I got it. Resurrected from the freezer that Alex is keeping them in. Yeah, I will say before we completely lock it in, I just want to underline that, yes, Alex, to your point of Nanaimo bars being something that you would have on an occasion type of thing, like a seasonal type of thing. I think that's true to Nanaimo bars in general, at least for my experience, that it's not something I'm going to have constantly. What makes them special is because they're seasonal, because I can have them during Christmas. And when I have them, it's this is great. Love it, pack it away till next year or whatever it is, and I'm cool with it. But every time I have it, it's like a little special dessert.
Yeah, well, they're so rich that if you had them on a regular basis, you would die, probably.
Yeah, probably a problem. Okay, so our list of 5 is poutine, Nanaimo bar, maple syrup. We have smoked salmon and Montreal-style bagels. That's 5. Let's go from 5 to 1. What is our number 5? What are you thinking here?
Nanaimo bars?
I think it has to be Nanaimo bars because everything wasn't the
I
debate.
agree. Cool. I'm fine with that. Okay, number 4.
I would put smoked salmon.
That's my feeling as well.
Yeah,
I like it, but the other ones, everything else that's up for contention right now, is much more oh yes, I shall consume this, and it will Clog my veins.
It's weird because if smoked meat was on the list, I might want to go for it a little higher. But I totally get why smoked salmon's on this list, and I'm fine with it at 4. Yeah,
I think smoked salmon at 4 makes sense to me, if only because my favorite version of smoked salmon is served with something else that's going to be on this list. So it feels weird to try and put it higher than that thing.
Potentially be the number 3 that I'm feeling.
Are you thinking bagels number 3?
I'm thinking bagels number 3. Mostly because if I look at the other 2, I see those as being more quintessentially Canadian. Montreal bagels, while we do them right, we do get them good, and we are very proud of them. I think in terms of like Canadian foods, I will say that poutine and maple syrup maybe eke out ahead.
Yeah, in terms of like international recognition of like, oh yeah, this is that Canada thing.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I would argue that Montreal bagels rather are Canada's most favorite bread. But
I'd make that argument.
But that's all I would argue for them, right? Like I think that you're absolutely right that poutine and bacon or poutine and maple syrup both feel like they belong higher on the list.
Top 5 Canadian bread. Probably be a short list.
It'd just be us fighting over which bagel places do the bagels better.
I love Montreal style bagels. Unfortunately, I don't live close enough to Montreal, and for whatever reason, I feel like that shouldn't even be a barrier. Like, I don't know why. Like,
you're closer. You're closer to like upstate New York than you are to Montreal, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's just like, I just don't understand. Like, yes, it originated there, whatever it is. Like, why don't you bring some of that bagel action over here this way? Certainly, it can't be that hard. Just steal steal how to do it and just do it over here. I don't get it. No, I'm okay with Montreal style bagels being number 3.
All right.
So now we have our 1 and 2 here. Let's go with 2 first. This is going to be a bit of a fight, I think.
Is it easier to fight for who's number 1 and then de facto number 2? Because I think I got my number 1. And I think I got my number 1 because I can fight for it better than give a reason why one should be a number 2.
Yeah, I mean, when we have 2 left, it feels like whichever one we're saying is number 2, the other is number 1, right? Like, it's not like we're choosing between 3 things at this point.
What do you feel, Dave, in your heart? Give it to me.
In my heart of hearts, I think it's gotta be poutine. And here's my argument. Poutine is such an absolute clusterfuck of things that it can be. That it can incorporate everything on this list. Probably not split pea soup, because that would be weird.
I try it.
But I think that it just is so accepting of other ingredients and is so elevated when you throw a bunch of things into it that I think that it's the most Canadian. Because, like, even though Canada does have a very torrid affair with its own history, it's still a very welcoming-ish appearing country. And I think something that is... Wait. I got a thing for this. And that poutine is so welcoming in your heart that it will inevitably destroy it. And is bad for you.
What better? Yeah. Wow. Wow. No, you're so right. You're so right. What? And especially because maple syrup is something that comes straight from the land and is therefore inherently more indigenous to this land than poutine. What is more Canadian than the thing that is less indigenous being in the first spot than the thing that is more indigenous? What's more Canadian than the thing that is less indigenous coming in, looking really lovely and welcoming, and then giving you the shits 4 hours later? What is more Canadian than poutine?
The Putin
David,
shits
you're a
is,
genius.
Than the broadly marketable Canadian product that is awful bad for you and will make you hate yourself once you learn about the deep, dark truth.
Oh, no. Oh, God, yeah.
Alex, thoughts?
I agree completely. What better thing to represent Canada than a dish whose name just means mess?
Is that true?
Yes.
on a tasty level, because we haven't really talked about, metaphors aside, just poutine in general. Like, do you have a favorite topping on poutine? Like, we all love poutine for different reasons. Obviously, it's just a bunch of our favorite shit that's really inviting on like a little box, little thing, and you eat it. Feels really good in the moment. Yes, bad poops later, but in the moment, it tastes awesome. So, what is our go-to toppings for poutine?
So I think it is important to state that poutine has essentials. There are things that are essential to something for it to actually be a poutine. Otherwise, it is a loaded fry, a loaded gravy fry, if you will. Those essentials being, of course, French fried potatoes, curd cheese, and a brown gravy. Anything that doesn't have those three is an offshoot of poutine, and it's fine to like that, but it is important to establish that this is the baseline we're working from. That being said, my favorite, there's a poutine place not too far from me that delivers to me called Poutineville, and they do all kinds of shenanigans with their poutine. My favorite, I think, is they have one that they call the Montreal poutine that is smoked meat, bacon, and they put like a deep fried breaded pickle on top.
Oh my God.
I'm into that.
Disgustingly amazing. And bad for my stomach. But yes, that sounds great. Dave, favorite poutine ingredients, go.
Well, I have to see if I'm still allowed to say this, but Tom, would you consider a mushroom gravy to be a brown gravy?
I think that for the purposes of this, yes.
Excellent.
It is a brown gravy.
just making sure.
No, I think it has to be, like, you can't... Poutine has to be accessible.
Yeah.
So my favorite way to eat poutine, the only topping I ever go for is pepper. That is the only thing I will add.
Really?
And
wow.
It adds such a body of flavor to it that it is hard to beat with additions. And it is my preferred way of eating poutine. But if I'm getting kosher poutine, which usually either will skip the curds in favor of a protein or will use a mushroom gravy and use heavy cheese. They don't use most kosher poutines don't usually use curds, but still very good. Won't lie to you. But both are very good, and I want to give a quick shout out to kosher style poutine that cannot meet the correct qualifications that Tom has laid forth, but still pretty good, and still technically poutine, but I acknowledge is not.
I think that when it comes to things being like substitutions made because they are important to your diet, I think that that is an okay substitution. I more mean like, get out of here with sweet potato fries. Don't just shred cheddar on top of French fries and call it poutine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta have the spirit of it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would still eat that.
I'm not saying I wouldn't.
And I would call it poutine, but yes. Alex, what do you think?
I am in a similar camp to David on this, in that for like religious dietary reasons, there are a number of poutine toppings and sauce varietals that are just not on the table for me. It's got to be like a vegetarian sauce base if I'm having cheese in there at all. So consequently, I am also rather fond of like really like simple. Like if I want to add caramelized onions, that is valid and delicious.
Ooh,
pepper,
yeah.
Valid and delicious. Hot sauce, essential and delicious. However, I will put it out there, a perfectly good poutine-adjacent dish, breakfast poutine, as it is frequently made in Quebec. I'm
Fish
talking
and chips on top.
I wish. I genuinely wish, Tom. This is primarily silver dollar fries. Your choice of like vegetables and or meats. I'm generally, getting a whole bunch of vegetables on there. You've got some sun-dried tomatoes, some onions, some chives, the whole breakfast shebang. And critically, in addition to your cheese curds, rather than using browned gravy, hollandaise sauce.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's like a poutine version of an Eggs Benedict almost.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's wonderful.
That does
all
sound
right.
good.
You and your breakfast food, eh, Alex? Mm-hmm. You
Savory
and your
breakfast
food
is
and-
where it's at.
Well, I love it. My poutine options or ingredients, like literally anything. Like, I just like I am not picky with whatever. I want to try it all. If you have a weird poutine invention that you just want to try out and put in the world, and just dump it on this platter of fries and gravy and cheese curds, give it to me. I don't care. I want to try. Like, I love, like, people get crazy with, like, give me like meatballs on top of it, or like make it like a Greek style poutine. Duck. Oh, I love duck. And like, if you put that in a poutine too, like, yes, give it. You want to give me like a healthier version of it, whatever, I'm open to it. But anyways, enough about poutine. We have a full list of 5 now, and that list is number 5, Nanaimo bars. Number 4, smoked salmon. Number 3, Montreal style bagels. Number 2, maple syrup. And number 1, poutine, everyone. Nice.
Yeah.
We did good work today.
And I just
yeah.
clocked that we spent so much time talking about everything that we barely touched on maple syrup, and I think that's appropriate because maple syrup is so simple. It's just what it is. It's written on the packaging.
Yeah.
That I'm kind of glad we did make this list without having to argue anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maple syrup is really good on quite a number of things, but it's also, you wouldn't use it for everything. It's not your Montreal steak spice.
Would you put it on breakfast fish, Alex?
Honestly, I think it could be nice, but if I were going to do that, I would mix it in with my cold congealed cream corn that I've also saved from the night before as an alternate dipping sauce.
Okay, and this is why it's number 2.
Yeah. I've had maple syrup on like salmon before, and it's a really nice combo, so I don't see why not. Breakfast fish, maple syrup.
Breakfast fish. I can't get over this. Okay. So all right.
No escaping it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go into honorable mentions. So how this works is I'm just going to have you guys just rapid fire the rest of your list. You don't have to go into huge explanation of it. I just want to hear all your nominations. And Tom, go ahead. Give it to me.
Reading it off my little post-it note here. Pizza-getti, which is a thing that is very Canadian and ridiculous. It's exactly what it sounds like. Prairie oysters, if you know, you know. The Nova Scotia donair. The steame hot dog, which is a steamed hot dog served here in Quebec. Back bacon / pea meal bacon, which people outside of Canada call Canadian bacon. I think that's dumb because in Canada we just call bacon bacon. This is specifically called back bacon here. And it's really weird that they call this Canadian bacon everywhere else because normal bacon is Canadian bacon. It's just bacon. Ketchup chips, tourtière, which Alex mentioned before, the classic Quebecois meat pie. The cabane à sucre is an honorable mention here in that is a Quebecois food staple of going to a place where they extract maple syrup but also cook like 4 different kinds of pork and beans and eggs and stuff and throw it all on a plate for you, and it's delicious. Fiddlehead ferns, the only vegetable on my list, but a good one. Rappy pie, which is a like scalloped potato casserole kind of dish from Acadian origins out in the Maritimes. And last but certainly not least, creton, which is a Quebecois slop of discarded pork parts turned into kind of a pate almost, and it's gray and looks really unappetizing, but it is delicious and good for breakfast.
Okay, that last one does not sound good, but I believe you. Alex, give me the rest of your list.
All right. So a number of these have already been named, but Newfoundland-style boiled dinner or Jig's dinner. You know, you've got your corned beef, cabbage, turnips, potatoes, carrots, boil them, put some bagged pudding in there, hawk it on a plate, bam, dinner. Butter tarts, Canadian classic. A lot of butter, a lot of sugar, raisins and nuts are apparently optional, but they're only optional if you are a fool, because they belong in this recipe. Date squares, also very Canadian. I would contend strongly that they are better than butter tarts, but I did not feel so strongly to put them on to actually nominate them. tagging on steamies, specifically Montreal-style all-dressed hot dogs, where you've got your like fresh coleslaw, not creamy, fresh, like with a vinaigrette, mustard, and chopped onions with your steamed hot dog. That is the way to eat a hot dog. You're doing it wrong if it's not like this.
Oh, God, I've been eating a hot dog wrong my entire life.
And was there anything else? Thai Express.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
And we said that would count. If you think it's Canadian, Thai Express, then it has to count.
Thai Express, to those unfamiliar, is a chain of food court Thai restaurants that started in Saint Laurent, Quebec. They really sprung up in Montreal. There are now 299 branches of Thai Express franchised mostly all over the country. More than 2/3 of them are in this province, but also in the United States, in the UK, and also apparently in Dubai.
You did a lot of research for Thai Express for a Canadian foods list.
They're very good if you want fast food Thai.
Yeah. Also, it's your stomach afterwards, I hear.
Yep.
Dave, hit me with the rest of your list.
I don't got much. I was going to say Timbits.
Yes.
I have Canadian rye whiskey. Which is,
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was very quintessentially Canadian as far as alcohols go, but it also, I don't like it, so I couldn't bring myself to nominate it. And then I have another alcohol. This one I thought of only because Alex is here. Screech.
Ah, yes.
Go on.
Screech, for those who don't know, is essentially moonshine made with the molasses that they scrape out of the bottom of rum barrels. So whatever is left over from making rum, they take that and they further distill it and they ferment it for more, and it turns into Screech.
Wow.
It is a Newfoundland classic.
All right. I was just thinking about when I think of Screech, I immediately go by that Saved by the Bell character from Dustin Diamond. So yeah, sounds delicious because of that.
And an honorable mention to Jesse Spano.
Is that it, Dave?
That's it for me. Everything else was already said.
All right. So for myself, most of it has already been said. I like lobster rolls. Those are pretty good. Chalet sauce is can be pretty good as long as you have it at the restaurant. If you get it for takeout, it's absolutely awful for whatever reason it is. And the thing that I thought, maybe we already mentioned this, but I must have not heard it, or maybe you guys didn't say it, was beaver tails. Beaver tails seem like the thing, you know? It's a very, very popular doughy pastry type of dessert-ish food, and people go nuts for it when they go to I lived in Ottawa, and I lived in downtown Ottawa, and the beaver tail stand was always had a big lineup for it.
Sorry, do you mean queue de castor?
Sure.
I think it's important for listeners to know that these are not the tails of actual beavers.
Yeah, it's true. I guess people don't know that. No, it's just a big. We spent one night making beaver tails. They are also very not good for you, but they taste really good. And I would say they're kind of like poutine in the way that like they've gone kind of crazy with them. There's so many different weird styles of beaver tails now that you can really just put anything on top of it, and it usually tastes pretty good. It's messy, but it's pretty good. Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to know,
eaten one.
You've never eaten one?
Never.
Neither have I, actually.
What? What?
Yeah.
I got nothing to say except for those exclamations.
I didn't grow up with them, and they were always so expensive when I was a little kid at like an amusement park that I just never felt the need to buy them. That's it, really.
Would you have one now?
I would have anything at this time that wouldn't destroy my tum tum.
Yeah. Well, I think this would, but
Yeah.
it's just a nice Canadian pastry, and I think it's a staple to Canadian foods, or what we view as Canadian foods. And the last one I had is a drink. I think it's funny, which is why I'm nominating it. I don't think it's very good, but we used to order this all the time back in high school when we shouldn't have been able to order this, which was something called a Rocky Mountain Bear Fucker. And now all it is, it's a shot basically, and you're going 1/3 whiskey, 1/3 tequila, and 1/3 151 rum. And that's it. And you just take it. It's absolutely awful. It'll fuck you up. And that's a Rocky Mountain Bear Fucker.
Wow.
So if you guys want to party afterwards, you'll know where to find me.
A pleasant nightcap, really.
Yeah.
I forgot. Speaking of beverages, I did want to give an honorable mention to spruce beer.
Go away.
Yes.
Go away.
Spruce beer
No.
is the best.
Leave.
No, we're done.
I miss drinking alcohol because I miss putting gin in spruce beer and having pine cones. The best.
Really?
The best.
Okay. I'm gonna
It's
take
like Christmas
your
in your mouth.
word. Well,
I'm sorry, these were honorable mentions, not questionable mentions.
thank you, Dave. All right. Well, that's it for our show today. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of Ranked. We couldn't have done this, of course, without Tom Zalatnai. Tom, thank you for being back.
Hey, thanks for having me again,
Yeah.
as I ordered you to.
Yes, you ordered me to. Strap me a chair against my will. Tom, what do you have to plug for the people at home?
Ooh, baby. People who want to hear more of me talking about food can do that by going and downloading the No Bad Food podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, Apple Podcasts will have updated my logo, because I've been trying to get in touch with support with them for weeks.
Yep.
We'll see.
We all have.
Gotta love it. If you want to just follow me on social media, I am at Tom Zalatnai everywhere. And if you want to hear me play in Dungeons and the Dragons with actually all three of the people on this call, Tuong has also been on our podcast, you can check out Natural Toonie wherever you get your podcasts.
Excellent. Alex, thank you and your hair for being on the podcast today.
I'm sorry, I have not stopped touching it in literally 2 hours. I'm incorrigible.
Why are you apologizing? I am thanking your hair for being on the podcast. Alex, it's been great arguing about food with you. I think I learned a lot about your weird breakfast tastes and how breakfast is just dinner for you for the most part. And that's
Morning
great.
dinner.
Yeah. What else do you put in your freezer, though? We never found out.
That's a very excellent question that I'm going to have to address after we finish this recording because I can't legally disclose it.
Oh, God, that's really creepy. Well, can you at least disclose what you have to plug for the people at home?
Naturally, Natural Toonie. And otherwise, which you can find anywhere you get podcasts. But otherwise, no.
Well, that's great. Dave,
Yeah,
where are
that's
you
me.
at?
I'm good.
Thank you for being on the podcast. I didn't get to see you, but your voice carried through and echoed throughout the entire pod cavern today. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. Dave, what do you have?
I got nothing to plug but what these two yokels already said. And have a good day. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to plug. I want to plug having a good day.
And will you have an Nanaimo bar or a beaver tail by the time I get to actually see you guys in person?
I could probably do that in the next decade, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
That's such a low bar. Hell yeah.
It's a very low bar. I hope you cross it. All right. Well, that's it for the show. And for myself, you can find the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. Check out all the shows in the Pod Cavern. Buy a t-shirt, podcavern.com. We have a merch store. Support us. We get a little bit of a kickback, and you'll look hot. And that's all you ever want to do. On Canada Day, we talked about attractive people roaming the land on Canada Day in their short shorts. I'm not sure if you can buy short shorts on the Pod Cavern merch store, but you can make them short, and that's what matters.
Can I get a pair of booty shorts with your face, just cartoon right on the back?
Yes. Now that you requested it, I will make that happen. Booty
I want tongue
shorts
on my butt.
Booty shorts, really skimpy thongs. What else do we got? Nipple rings. All the sexy stuff is on the Pod Cavern merch store.
Wait for my Pod Cavern nipple ring.
All right, let's get out of here. Bye, everyone.